Hi everyone, and welcome once again to Eagle News. I am Jeff Sanidad in Washington. It's Saturday, May 4, 2024. Here in the nation's capital, the week's recap begins with the impact of El Niño being described as unprecedented by a climate crisis expert. She warns that a devastating crisis might just unfold sooner than later. Joanne Soriano reports.
The world faces a major crisis, fueled by one of the strongest El Niño events on record. This, according to the newly appointed Climate Crisis Coordinator for the El Niño La Niña response, Rina Gelani.
This El Niño event, just to say, this is one of the strongest we've had since 1950 when we started recording it. So about 40 to 50 million people affected in 16 countries. And I've just come actually a couple of days ago from flooded areas of Kenya and really seen the sharp end of it. So I met with communities who've basically had everything, their whole lives washed away.
Gelani, who recently returned from witnessing the devastation firsthand, describes the impact on communities as unprecedented.
All of the communities are basically saying they have never seen an impact like this. So what we are facing now is, February was the hottest month in 100 years in the southern part of Africa. All of the harvest's gone. I'm sure Beth will talk more about that. And communities are basically looking forward, saying this is the end of their livelihoods as they knew it.
Deputy Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization, or FAO, Beth Bechtel, emphasizes the importance of immediate action to prevent further catastrophe.
It's time to really, I think, step up our collective efforts to make sure that anticipatory actions that support people at the most critical stage of when a crisis like this really begins to take its toll is the most important approach that we can prioritize. And for us at FAO, this means farmers can protect their crops, their fields, and their livestock. And oftentimes we think about these products, these assets of farmers and livestock herders as sources of income and livelihood. But really, if you think about them at their very core, they're sources of food supplies, they're sources of nutrition.
Looking ahead, Gelani warns of worsening conditions and projected impacts well into the next year. However, she remains resolute, asserting that timely action could avert further catastrophe.
At the moment, there are projections that this is going to get worse and affect communities well into next year. But as Beth has said, if we act now and act fast, the world will have not another major crisis on its hands. We can prevent this. We know what needs to be done, and we can do it now with timely action.
Gelani estimates that $3 billion is needed for prevention and mitigation efforts. Joanne Soriano reporting from New York, New York, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Meanwhile, a World Health Organization study reveals that the extreme and unnecessary use of antibiotics during the COVID-19 pandemic might have compromised the antimicrobial resistance in patients. Roselle Feria has that story.
Imagine a world where antibiotics, our life-saving defense against bacterial infections, no longer work. According to the World Health Organization, this chilling scenario could become reality thanks to the overuse of antibiotics during the COVID-19 pandemic. New research by WHO reveals a troubling trend. Despite COVID-19 being a viral illness, a staggering 75% of hospitalized patients worldwide received antibiotics, medicine useless against viruses.
The advice was very clear right from the start. This was a virus. So it wasn't that there was any guidance or recommendation that clinicians go in this direction. But perhaps because people were dealing with something completely new, they were looking for whatever they thought might be appropriate.
This just-in-case approach has potentially fueled the rise of antimicrobial resistance, or AMR, where bacteria become resistant to the drugs designed to kill them. The overuse was particularly high in critical COVID-19 cases, 81% globally, and regions like Africa, 79% for mild-moderate cases. This widespread misuse is concerning because the WHO study also found these commonly overprescribed antibiotics have a higher potential to create resistant bacteria.
The only time you would use antibiotics when you've got a viral infection is if you had a secondary proven bacterial infection that was sensitive to those antibiotics. So in other words, they were not being used appropriately. And if you are the main harm, of course, is that if you are using antibiotics, you're increasing the likelihood of antimicrobial resistance to those particular antibiotics, so that when you do need them for your bacterial infection, they are no longer so useful.
This research, based on data from nearly 500,000 hospitalized COVID-19 patients across 65 countries, highlights the urgent need for responsible antibiotic use. WHO urges healthcare providers to strictly follow guidelines and only prescribe antibiotics when a bacterial infection is confirmed.
If you give somebody a medication that they don't actually need, you are always exposing them to an unnecessary risk. Every time you treat a person for any illness with any medication, a doctor will balance, will this medication do the job and prevent whatever the disease is, and is that a more important outcome than any of the potential risks?
Will we be able to outrun the superbug threat? The answer lies in our collective action. By using antibiotics wisely, we can preserve these life-saving tools for generations to come. Rosel Feria, Washington, D.C., Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
In other news, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration's National Weather Service launched a new heat and health initiative. This to protect U.S. residents from extreme heat exposure. The heat season has begun in the U.S. and records show that in 2023, more than 2/3 of all Americans were under heat alerts. A recent report from CDC finds that daily emergency department visits because of heat-related illness in 2023 peaked in several regions over the warm season months. The new initiative launched by CDC and NOAA has 3 resources which gives proactive actions people can take to protect themselves, stay cool, stay hydrated, know the symptoms. First, the Heat Risk Forecast Tool. This tool was developed by both CDC and NOAA. It provides a 7-day heat forecast nationwide that indicates when temperatures may reach levels that could harm one's health. Second, CDC's Heat Risk Dashboard. It is a consumer-friendly product that integrates the Heat Risk Forecast Tool data with other information. This includes details on local air quality to inform the public on how best to protect themselves when outdoor temperatures are high and could impact their health. Third, the newly developed CDC clinical guidance help clinicians keep at-risk individuals safe when temperatures rise. CDC Director Dr. Mandy Cohen says heat can impact our health, but heat-related illness and death are preventable. In Toronto, Canada, multiple arrests and dozens of charges have been filed in connection to a synthetic identity fraud scheme in the province, with the discovery of hundreds of fraudulent accounts created since 2016. Authorities are still reaching out to possible victims, as Lisa Akmar reports.
102 charges and 12 arrests were made by the Toronto Police Service Monday in a major synthetic identity fraud investigation. Project Deja Vu began in October 2022 when the Toronto Police Service Financial Crimes Unit started investigating identity credit fraud scheme going back 2016. Those arrested are alleged to have created almost 700 unique synthetic or fake identities. These fake synthetic identities have been used to open hundreds of bank and credit accounts across Ontario. They have also been used in money laundering, human and drug trafficking, and armed robbery. People's information were fraudulently stolen through in-store and online purchases, cash withdrawals, and electronic transfers. The scheme has resulted in confirmed losses of $4 million. 12 people were arrested, and the police are still seeking anyone who has been approached by these people. Their information and photos have been publicly posted by Toronto police in search for more that may have been victimized by this modus operandi. Ashley Sackmer, Toronto, Ontario for Net25 World News.
U.S. President Joe Biden has commented on the recent violence and police action on American college campuses. While criticizing the actions of pro-Palestinian demonstrators, Biden says peaceful protests are a right. Thomas Eyelikeness has the update on Learning Curve.
There's the right to protest, but not the right to cause chaos.
Biden had harsh words for pro-Palestinian protesters who have been occupying several U.S. college campuses for the past week. He says he respects people's right to disagree and publicly make their views known.
We are not an authoritarian nation where we silence people or squash dissent.
But the president says order must prevail on university campuses. Biden adds many of those protests have gone too far.
Vandalism, trespassing, breaking windows, shutting down campuses, forcing the cancellation of classes and graduations. None of this is a peaceful protest.
This past Thursday, police in riot gear cleared the University of California campus in Los Angeles. The demonstrators had been living in a barricaded tent city for the past week. Nationwide, at various student protests, more than 2,000 people have been arrested. Not all of them are students. Many are faculty members and outside agitators. Student protests in support of the Palestinian people have spread to other parts of the world. Demonstrators are occupying universities in Canada, Mexico, Europe, and Australia. All of these protests are demanding the universities sever links with Israel. But these protests come with a price. Anti-Semitism is on the rise on university campuses. Jewish students say they've been targeted. They feel unsafe. And they feel college communities are becoming desensitized to anti-Semitism. Biden condemns those anti-Jewish sentiments.
There should be no place on any campus, no place in America for anti-Semitism or threats of violence against Jewish students.
Biden says hate speech of any kind is wrong, adding there's no place for racism in America. Since the police crackdowns at several U.S. campuses, the intensity of the protests appears to have waned, but whether that lull in activity will be sustained in coming months remains to be seen. Thomas Eyelikeness, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
A heat wave baking Vietnam has proven to be too much for the fish in a reservoir in the country's Dong Nai province. Hundreds of thousands of fish in the Song May Reservoir have perished. Percy Parlade has the details on Down to Earth.
Water levels in the Vietnamese reservoir are too low to sustain the fish. The region has not had any rain for several weeks. In a bid to save crops downstream, reservoir management discharged water. They then tried to renovate the reservoir, bringing in a pump to take the mud out so that the fish would have more space and water. However, the efforts did not work, and shortly afterwards, many of the fish died. Local media reports suggest as many as 200 tons worth may have perished. And that has angered residents living near the reservoir. They say the smell from the decaying carcasses is unbearable. Authorities are investigating and working to quickly remove the dead fish. Percival Parlade for Net25 World News.
Gearing up for a tourism boom in its capital city, Papua New Guinea introduces the China Ready initiative. Find out more about the strategy from Eco Ortolesa Quinola on Oceania at a glance.
Papua New Guinea's Tourism Promotion Authority and the National Capital District Port Moresby welcomed the launch of China Ready Workshop Program. The program assures Chinese visitors that destination and service providers in Papua New Guinea understand and adhere to Chinese hospitality standards. The workshop prepares and promotes Port Moresby as a premier tourist destination, with well-equipped and updated suppliers when it comes to insights into Chinese outbound travel trends. Papua New Guinea looks to benefit from the increase of Chinese visitors through understanding their culture, customs, industry-specific knowledge, and marketing.
This program is key. Key in the sense that it will now help us to prepare, whether it be hoteliers, whether it be transport, whether it be small bungalows, the catering companies, all service providers. It helps us to prepare for the Chinese tourists. And if we are prepared, definitely when they come, there's no disappointment. They will actually meet what the expectations are there for. So it's important that we prepare Papua New Guinea, and particularly Port Moresby, because Port Moresby is the face of Papua New Guinea, and Port Moresby must now prepare for Chinese tourists.
Minister of Tourism, Culture and Arts, E.C. Henry Leonard, speaks before workshop participants and underscores that Port Moresby is a vital hub for tourism and business. Workshop facilitator, China Travel Online CEO Marcus Lee, is also the author of the international bestseller How to Outsmart China.
This program here, the China Ready program, is about enabling, allowing our people to understand and at the same time prepare for the Chinese tourists. Papua New Guinea has a lot to offer. It has a lot to offer in terms of one culture, in terms of flora and fauna, in terms of our people, especially our people. We have so much that we can offer, and that potential is there. And with this coming on board, we can now harness that potential and develop tourism in the country.
NCD Governor Poe Sparkop, PPA CEO Eric Mosman Uvovo, and Chinese Embassy Deputy Head of Mission Chen Jiliang share with the participants the same vision. Over 60 tourism service providers receive certificates after completing the China Ready Workshop program.
Eko Hortaleza Quinola, Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
Extraordinary stories from Thomas Eyelikeness today, from school cafeterias in Brazil whipping up a new menu, to an awesome rescue of a stranded man atop a tree in Kenya, to taming unruly tourist behavior in Japan's Mount Fuji. All these and more on Correspondent at Large.
And now news and commentary from around the globe. In Brazil, school cafeterias are trying to do something about overweight kids. Nearly a third of children in Brazil are either overweight or obese, an epidemic that has a lot of people concerned. The menu at a school cafeteria in Rio de Janeiro offers entrees like these: chicken with potatoes and carrot and cabbage salad. There's no cake. Additive packed snacks and cookies are also verboten. City officials banned ultra-processed foods from schools this year. Instead, students are munching on classic Brazilian fruits and vegetables. They're often overlooked these days, things like yams, okra, and persimmons. And a recent study found that more than 80% of 5 to 19-year-olds reported eating at least one ultra-processed food the previous day, such as sausages, soda, and pastries. An unusual rescue in Kenya. The East African nation has been drenched by heavy rains, which has caused flooding and landslides. Many people took refuge on the rooftops of their home to wait for rescue. But this man sought shelter in a tree when floodwaters left him stranded. He spent 5 days up there in the branches before a boat with Red Cross rescuers came along. He got their attention. They loaded him onto the boat and took him to dry land. The flooding has devastated parts of the country. Floods and landslides have destroyed roads, bridges, and other infrastructure. This calamity so far has claimed nearly 200 lives. The iconic Paris landmark, the Eiffel Tower, became lit up in a different way recently. This past Wednesday on May 1st, lightning struck the tower. This is what it looked like. All right, that was pretty quick, so let's run it again. Still missed it? Okay, I'm going to slow it down and one last time. Truly, a spectacular sight. You know, the tower's made of iron and acts as a lightning rod. Oh, and another tourist attraction, Mount Fuji in Japan. Have you seen it? Well, if you want to, you'd better be on your best behavior if you visit this town. In Fujikawa Guchiko town, they're putting up a mesh barrier to block views of the country's most famous site. This after locals complained about bad behavior by photo-hungry tourists. Local officials and residents say while the town welcomes visitors, they need to control the unruly crowds. Officials want to stop tourists from continuously crossing the street, ignoring red lights, littering, trespassing, illegally parking, and smoking outside of designated areas. They hope the barriers will discourage tourists from loitering there, but will it work? Australian tourist Trinity Robinson doubts it.
Stop people? I don't think so, because when there's a will, there's a way. People will just be on the left side of it or the right side of it, or they'll be in the car park here, which they can't close the car park. It's a convenience store. So there'll definitely be a way to still get the shot. It'll just be even more dangerous, really.
By the middle of this month, the town plans to complete the 2.5-meter net barrier, which will stretch more than 20 meters long to block the view of the mountain. And I'll be back in 7 days on good behavior. In the meantime, I wish you all peace, joy, and happiness in the ensuing week. Thomas I. Likeness, Correspondent at Large, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
National Small Business Week is celebrated from April 28 to May 4. Our story brings us to Corpus Christi, Texas, where we discover a locally owned business that pairs southern fried chicken with exotic Asian flavorings. Let's check in with Jane Kathleen Gregorio and find out what's cooking. Here's Mind Your Business.
In many cities and towns across the country, small businesses are the lifeblood of the community. According to Secretary of State Jeffrey Bullock, small businesses pour money into local communities and contribute approximately $12 billion in wages annually. One of the local businesses that we'll be exploring today is Coco's Crispy Fried Chicken, where we'll get a taste of American crispy fried chicken with exotic Asian flavors. Let's take a look. As a small business that opened just after the pandemic, co-owners Brielle Friday and Eva Zhang each bring a unique set of talents to the table. Chef Eva creates the recipes using authentic imported ingredients.
For the way that we have a different type of sauce on the side, that creates an opportunity for the customer to find the sauce that they like the most.
Meanwhile, Brielle, a university student and a licensed real estate agent, handles business operations.
We first looked at opening Coco's. I was about 21, and some of the challenges that came with it is just finding a kind of built-out restaurant, so we didn't have to put up as much of an investment into the build-out of the restaurant. This was my first commercial lease. My mentors, I guess, would be both me and Eva's mentors, is my dad, Haven Swint Friday. He is currently a finance professor at tame as well as my brother, Cortland, who also came in. He did a lot of the work, moving tables, putting them together. Coco's, it is a small restaurant. It is, women owned as well. And so what we would like to do is go ahead and expand and potentially open up another Coco's in Corpus Christi and hopefully bring the good crispy fried chicken to everybody in Corpus.
With a variety of Asian-inspired sauces, their unique product has tickled the curiosity and the taste buds of diners near and far.
Yeah, I've been wanting to come here, but every time I come here, I pass it, and I've been wanting to try it, so here I am, gonna try it. I'm super excited.
Well, today I ordered boneless chicken wings and waffle sandwiches.
How do you like it?
It's really good.
How's the quality of the chicken?
It's very flavorful.
So growing up, where I come from is Jackson, Florida, and we are obsessed with chicken wings. I mean, chicken wing is king, right? But here at Coco's, I think it's about the marinade. Guys, This is already amazing. So the owner, Eva, she imports her special seasoning for the chicken straight from China, and I can definitely taste the difference.
So I ordered the 6-piece wing, lemon pepper, and then we also ordered the wings with sweet chili, sweet orange, and the gochujang barbecue. The fries are off the chain, and then lemon pepper. You dip your chicken tenders into the lemon pepper or sprinkle them on yourself. This is the sweet chili sauce. You can order different things and then try different options. So we have lemon pepper and ranch and barbecue, but this one's sweet orange, and we can just dip it right in there. It's good. You don't really taste the orange until the very end, but it's kind of tangy and it's sweet. It's really, really good. It's a good combination with the chicken. Yeah, you gotta try this.
One of the biggest difficulties I've had working at Coco's is wanting to eat every single item that comes out and just the smell of the fried chicken. Oh my God.
Very important for us to support our local businesses for them to succeed.
In Corpus Christi, Texas, I'm Jane Kathleen Gregorio, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development has raised its global economic growth forecast for 2024. It says the improved outlook has been driven by strong performances in the United States and emerging countries, while Europe lags behind. Elise Danielle has more.
According to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development's latest quarterly report, the world economy is expected to expand by 3.1% this year. That's up from a previous projection in February of 2.9%. Secretary General Matthias Cormann, a lot of that growth comes from emerging Asia.
That is China, India, Indonesia, and dynamic Asian economies continues to account for more than half of all global growth.
Cormann says the global economy has proved resilient and inflation has declined. Central banks worldwide raised interest rates in efforts to combat inflation, which rose after the pandemic and soared further following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But there could be dark clouds on the economic horizon. The organization warns that high geopolitical tensions, particularly in the Middle East, could disrupt energy and financial markets. And it says that could cause inflation to spike and growth to falter. Elise Tanya for Net 25 World News.
Let's head over to Las Vegas, Nevada, where our Bureau Chief Anna Cui learns from spectators and vendors why events like the Great American Foodie Celebration bring families and communities together. Here's the story.
Las Vegas is known for many things, including food. And where there's great food, there's always a crowd, just like here at this Great American Foodie event, where families can enjoy not only different types of food, but also carnival games and rides and live entertainment. From your familiar carnival food to a bit more exotic choices, there's something for everyone to try.
Right now I am having an alligator po' boy with hot sauce, pickles, and lettuce. No mayo, and it is one of the best alligator po' boys I done had, and I done had a few of them. Louisiana, California.
I love it. It feels like, well, I love carnivals in general, but this is really nice. Everyone's been so nice, and the food looks good. It's pineapple chunks, and then they said that this is frozen whipped cream.
I've been here right in front. That's the empanada. So I love empanada, and I'm pescatarian, and so I don't eat meat, but they have a vegan meat option, so it was delicious. And then, if you can see, I have then also this exotic juice, and you can refill too, so it's amazing, having a good time here.
It is so satisfying to see people enjoying great food and just having fun all together. And as we know, food brings families together, which also runs true for Four Corners Food Truck, serving up delicious Filipino-Mexican-inspired dishes. Here's Ralph, who tells us how his kids help him with the business.
They give me their honest criticism of the food. If they like it, they love it, and I change it. Okay. Especially her.
Other vendors are also family-owned, like Nate with exotic juices. He's proud to share that he's been working on their juice recipes with his parents for 15 years. And sometimes even great-tasting products need a fresh new look to stand out among the competition.
We were selling drinks already, but just in cups, and we saw the baby bottle, so we were like, let's try it out. And little did we know, it just popped off and everyone wanted one. So we just ran with it.
Well, whether it's enjoying great food or playing games or simply sitting together listening to live music, it's just so nice to see families spending time together.
Anna Kui for Net 25 News.
We are all in for a treat this week. We super miss this friend of ours, Aika, and her mouth-watering food creations. She shares with us her recipe for chocolate chunk banana bread. Here's Behind the Counter.
Hey, I'm Aika, and welcome back to Behind the Counter, where we see easy and tasty meals be brought to life. We think you'll go bananas for this sweet treat. Check out this chocolate chunk banana bread. Here for full recipes, and if there's a dish that you'd like to see, let us know in the comments below. Catch us on eaglenewslive.com, on our Eagle News YouTube channel, and our Facebook page. Back next time when we go Behind the Counter.
As always, before we let you go, here's our photo of the week. This is our furry friend Hugo, and this is him enjoying the warm weather in this dog-friendly neighborhood's open field. Thanks Lizzie G for this snapshot. And that's it for this week. Thank you all for joining us again. If there are stories you want us to share with you, just comment below. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and X at Eagle News Live. I am Jeff Sanidad. We live in extraordinary times. Stay happy and healthy, everyone.